the Grey Hat Beard podcast. Hello everyone, welcome to the latest Grey Hat Beard podcast. I am the Grey. My name is Ken McDonald. I'm a solutions architect at CPS. Been working with SharePoint for many moons and loving SharePoint Online. Also do plenty of dev, a jack of all trades, master of none. And we also have Hat. If you'd like to introduce
So my name's Al. I am Hat. I am master of even more trades and less expert in all of them. So I head up Modern Workplace at CPS, and that encompasses Office 365 and a lot of Power Platform at the moment.
And I am Beard. So I'm Barry Trinder, solutions architect at CPS, Microsoft MVP, PNP team member as well. And yeah, just try and get my hands dirty in SharePoint, Office 365 and Azure.
And for those listening, yes, we're all at CPS. This isn't a purely CPS podcast. We promise. We're just three guys who love chatting about Microsoft 365 and related things around it. And that's what the Grey Hat Beard podcast is, chatting about the modern workplace in Microsoft 365. And off the back of the last episode, I hope you've listened. If not, do go back in all your favorite podcast apps, and some you hate as well, and have a listen. But we talked about the etiquette of Microsoft 365. We had a ship in Hat because unfortunately Al wasn't available. But as part of that, we mentioned at the end that we try and get a repo together. And as with many promises, actually managed to make this one happen. So we have github.com, Grey Hat Beards, for all you techie folks out there who love a bit of GitHub. It is available and showing there. And we have an M365 etiquette, and we've put down in Markdown a lot of the structure. For those of you who aren't quite so happy with GitHub, though, there is greyhatbeards.github.io/M365 etiquette on there. And we'll put all these in the show notes. And there is very much a web-based interface. You can see we've talked about what is this, what is the aim. And I think one of the aims is not only to capture that community feel for the tips and tricks for having the right etiquette that you'll have, but also then to be able to share that. So we'll be looking at trying to make this that we could put in, for example, a SharePoint web part to be able to pull the information through, to be able to create downloadable packages that you can put in your own organization, possibly even looking at bots and other things on there. In terms of the way we've got it at the moment, we've got it down by approach. You can look at communicating. What tool should I use to communicate? Looking at files and what files you should use on there. And also by service. So we've looked at things like Outlook, Teams, OneNote, Planner. It's not an exhaustive list at the moment. This is very much, I think, Al, this came from a splurge from a train journey you were on initially.
It did. So it is quite raw. It can do with some polish, and there are lots of things that we could add into this. So in things like productivity and productivity tips, it is a starting point that we can then launch into much more detail and much more useful information. And I guess that the reason for putting it together in the first place was for an environment where users are coming to 365 and they haven't used it before, and they don't know what's new, what's different, and what the best practice is for using Microsoft 365 when they're coming from on-prem.
Absolutely. So please do jump in and have a look. If you'd like to contribute and you're comfortable with GitHub, then fork the repo, make your changes, and then submit it as a pull request. And if you're listening to that, as we've had a bit of feedback and it's just gone whoosh, way over your head, we are looking at ways that we can do that. I think we're seeing more and more. I know Gary, with the Office 365 CLI, you've got a similar kind of approach with this. We're looking at ways we can make it easier for people to be able to contribute without necessarily knowing a lot about Git. It's definitely some feedback we got. So if you're not comfortable with that, drop us a line, drop us twitter.com/greyhatbeard, drop us a note on there. If you know us, then drop us a line directly as well. But we really would like to hear from others. We've already heard from Lorian Strent, who has said his set of blog posts, we can take a lot of the tips from there and integrate those. So we want to make this a community one. This isn't just from us at all.
Yeah, and that point about contributing, that's where things grow. how we make it easy for people to go in, create a new page, or even edit the page, and make it a nice, simple experience. Hopefully, I'll encourage more people to say, yeah, well, let's have one place for it, that we can kind of point our customers to, or even ourselves, just to kind of improve the way that we work as well. I just mentioned that there's definitely use subject line in Teams in there.
I promise I did put that in there. Yes, I think that's under the service. I know we had that conversation last week. I'm gradually I think I even managed the subject line, and I tagged you on there this week, Gary.
You did, you see.
But yes, that is in there somewhere. Let me just do a quick find. Actually, we do have search on there. So here we go. Let's see if
it is in there. Use subject line.
There we go.
Posts.
Use subject line on posts.
There we go.
Yeah, and don't cry wolf.
Very good.
So yeah, it's definitely on there. Just thinking on by approach, I know we'll be getting onto the news any minute now, but maybe how to work from home and some tips from that would be very good in the current climate.
Yeah.
Right, talking of news, so let's get on to the general news. Gary, have you got anything you want to bring up this week?
So I guess, news at the weekend, both myself and Al, we attended and spoke at Scottish Summit. So we mentioned it on previous podcasts. Yeah.
Nice shirt you've got on.
I was about to say, yeah, so we've gone with the speaker shirts. So yeah, it's a very nice shirt. There we go. But yeah, free event.
Sorry for those listening, but Gary and Al are both wearing their speaker shirts.
Yep. So 760 people attended on a one-day conference. There was actually 1,000 tickets that were kind of sold, if you like, for free. But to have that amount of turnout with the current climate, weather, and everything, it was a really great day. 90 speakers over a whole day session. So I delivered my session. I've put out a sample onto GitHub about how to use Logic Apps and SharePoint webhooks. So if it's something that you've heard of in the past and you don't quite understand all the moving pieces, I created a Logic app to kind of show that visually and use that for my demo. If you go to the repo, you can just kind of pull that down into your machine and run the scripts, and it will just deploy everything into your tenant for you to use.
And why would people use webhooks? What are the kind of scenarios that are useful for that?
So it's useful for obviously reacting to events on lists if you don't want to pay for the licensing fee for Flow, for example, or you want quicker responses. So webhooks are instant. They scale as well, so you can create a service endpoint where all of your events notifications are sent to, but apply that to many lists across Office 365. So if you've got a site template, for example, projects, and within that project you've got maybe issues log, and you want to react every time there's an issue created across many different projects, you could use a webhook to satisfy that need. So it's similar to what you get in Flow, but it's more on the dev side. It's there for scalability. There's some little tricks in there as well that I've used that you can't use in Flow. So using managed identity to call back to SharePoint as an app, so you don't have to have a person's identity tied to any of the actions like you would do in Flow. You can really run this as a background
really good
process.
point.
So,
yeah.
So that's something to think of.
Nice. Any other news or things caught your eye at the moment?
I guess the big news with, from one event to another is the Scottish Summit went ahead. There's a lot of events that are no longer going ahead as they were intended to. So the big one for me was the MVP Summit, which has now been, it's not been cancelled, but it's been made online only. So the MVP Summit, it happens every year. Thousands of MVPs will converge on Redmond and sit in workshops for 3-4 days, speaking to the product groups, and Microsoft have made the quite brave decision, I think, such a late stage to basically say, no, we're not going to travel and do this in person. We're going to do this online. And that is a big thing. I know there's lots of online conferences, but this one is especially big because I wasn't actually going to go to the MVP Summit because I just didn't have the time to book since I've become an MVP. And I was just completely going to have a blanket ban. If I didn't turn up in person, I wouldn't even hear anything. People can't take notes, take screenshots, things like that. So I was prepared for that, of that I'm just going to miss everything. But now it's online. It's obviously everything's still under NDA. It's not a light decision that Microsoft have made there. So it's interesting. Along with some of the other user groups, rather the Ignite World Tours have been kind of cancelled now as well. Unfortunately, they can't be put online. I guess it's if you've got people traveling from lots of different countries, it just increases the potential of problems with the
and I think
climate.
It's a very serious thing going on, and people are panicking about it. People are taking it very seriously, which I think is great on there. I'm going to be honest, I love some of the humour that's going on. And one of my favourite tweets that came around today that pointed out that COVID-19 just sounds like a Jira ticket really did make me laugh. I do like that people have that humour on diversity. It feels like a very British thing to me, but gave me a good chuckle.
There is the humour, but there is also the reaction to a lot of organisations. So Microsoft have launched this week the Crisis Communication app, a Power App, that they have built with a lot of the Power Apps champions and the community, and they've released that so that everybody can use that. And I think that's a really, it's an essential thing for organisations like Microsoft to lead the way in actually making these sorts of things available. And in combination with that, because they know some of the technology that enables people to work remotely and to use this app. For this particular app, they're actually making the push notifications free. So they're actually, taking some of the premium features and making them free whilst this, this situation carries on. And they've done the same thing.
That's interesting. I've missed that. That's really good.
I think, is it 6 months, did I hear, that you get
6 months of
features for?
Yeah, 6 months of an E1 license as well you can get, so that you can use Teams to work remotely. So, if you think, what Microsoft are actually doing is enabling people with the technology that, they already had, but turning it and focusing it on making people able to work and carry on working. The other one I saw this morning that they'd done is to say that all of their hourly workers on the Redmond campus would carry on being paid, even though they may not be working. So I think, the ethical standpoint of Microsoft in this situation, they're not trying to make money out of it by going, well, Teams is fantastic, pay us and then you can use it. They're actually doing the complete opposite and going, actually, we will give it away for free for a while. And we will actually, enable people and support people and make it as easy for people to get through this period as possible. Which I think, is setting an example that every organization, if they can afford to, should be copying.
Absolutely. And I tweeted this morning, I think it's great to see a company doing the right thing and seeing, you look at the share price of Microsoft, it feels like they're doing the right thing and it's working. They're seeing their share price, they're keeping the business people happy and keeping the right ethics. I think it's a great example.
It's a long-term decision though, isn't it? It's the yes, they're reacting to what's happening now, but it's a long-term decision that they're making in terms of, the benefits that they're going to get back from employees. It's like, yes, they could shave a little bit of money off there because they don't have to pay people, but it's, you could argue it's money that they're going to spend anyway. So what benefit are they going to get from doing that?
It's an investment in society, isn't it? Direct employees and indirectly people affected.
So well done, Microsoft.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I probably should give a shout out to Molly Waggett, who was the person who put that tweet about the Jira ticket. So just to give her the acknowledgement she's due there.
On this, Al, you ran a Twitter poll recently about.
I did. So as part of running the London Power Apps user group, we, working with, it's hosted at the Microsoft Reactor, and they sent an email out saying you need to consider, what additional measures you're taking if you're having people attend, making sure that self-certifying that they haven't been in an infected area or, you know, come in contact with people. And so it kind of raised a question around, you know, should we continue or not? And so I did put a poll out on Twitter, and we had, it was quite interesting because it was only about 20% of respondents that said no, they wouldn't attend a user group in person. Over 50% said they would, and it depends made up the rest. So, you know, the majority were prepared to attend. I haven't had much feedback on what factors would make people attend. I guess it might be the transportation. You know, that's probably one of the key ones. Certainly, you know, being in London, it would be, you know, are people prepared to travel through London where you're obviously, you know, being exposed on the tube and trains, and that might make a significant difference. But I guess the actual user groups, you know, the number of people congregating, you probably have more people in your office. You probably come into more people, contact with more people on a day-to-day basis than you would actually at a user group. But yeah, I think the general consensus that I had back in terms of comments was, yeah, let's just carry on. We can't let it, you know, directly impact everything that we do at the moment, because, you know, it's too early to let it impact us that significantly, unless, and there's a big caveat there, unless you are living with young children, living with the elderly, at which point then you might want to consider how you react.
Yeah, but keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. Yeah. Lovely British attitude.
I hope that meme had died though.
It's going to come back.
It's the Blitz. The Blitz spirit was referenced in at least one response to the tweet. So yeah. So yeah, I think it's, you know, it's important also, you know, with working with clients, you know, considering and offering, you know, can we work remotely? You know, many clients are starting to lock down premises and lock down so that they're not having lots of visitors, not having lots of people, you know. So it's respecting how others choose to respond to it as well.
Yeah, it is interesting. I've seen a few tweets of you know, people working from home a bit more and a bit tongue in cheek saying, my God, just imagine people going home and having to work for 2 weeks and everything's still carrying on and things working and people being productive. There's some of us that have been used to this for quite a while, and it's not, you know, you work from home and you work like you're in your office. It's not, oh, I'm working from home. It's like, you know, put your feet up on the sofa and things like that. But, you know, it's interesting. There's a cultural thing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's some quite interesting tweets coming out around. So Victor Veland was tweeting about, you know, rules to work at home, which is some really useful things.
Really good tips.
I did see one.
Sorry,
I did see one tweet. I can't remember who it was from, but it was, this is what introverts have been waiting for all our lives. You know, we're prepared for this.
Yeah, definitely. Hide away from the world. But Victor's tweet today was very good. It was just because you're working from home, don't just don't not have breaks, don't not have your lunch. You know, go out at lunch. He posted a picture up of him covered in mud. He must have got out on his bike and just got mucky on his lunch break. But but that's it, isn't it? It's yes, you are working from home, but it's like being in the office. You should take breaks and look after yourself.
I think his one yesterday was about making sure that you don't just sit around in your pajamas. You know, I think that's a really important one, because for a lot of people,
at least on the top half.
Yeah, but a lot of people, there is a psychological thing of when you get home, you get changed, and then you're into a different set of clothes, and then you can relax. And that kind of trigger is really important psychologically, to carry on having that trigger to say, right, I'm not working anymore, shut everything down, put it away, and then relax.
And that is the other side of working from home, is where your lines just become so blurred, you don't feel like you're ever not working.
Yeah.
It is easy to just, like, say, you know, if I've got different devices, I could sit downstairs and do some emails on an iPad and things, but it's just doing it in a place where I don't associate it with work all the time. And it can kind of, it's sometimes difficult to get back from. So, yeah, I just got an office, I come in here, I'm working. I walk outside the office, I'm not working. It's the easiest way to do it.
Good to remind the kids that as well.
Mm-hmm.
As my son nicely decided to invade during a client call the other day, which is always entertaining.
I hope you had your blur on.
I did, but then the blur doesn't really work if you need to turn around and shuffle him back out again. So, actually, no, I tell you, I didn't have blur on because it was on WebEx, so I couldn't, which is very annoying. So, there we go. Right, before we deviate too much, just one other bit of news I wanted to share, which I think's really interesting, is that Microsoft's going to introduce a free tier of Cosmos DB. Which for me, I love Cosmos DB. I think it's a brilliant tool. I'm very much a fan of the NoSQL type databases. But the problem I've had with kind of recommending to people is that low barrier cost. You know, the lowest thing you're looking at certainly tens, if not hundreds, for the very low level, which is, you know, great organizations can cater for that. But if you wanted to try things out, if you wanted to work on your own, you don't want to be paying that much money just to play around with things. So I think this is a really good move from Microsoft, and hope it will get more engagement with Cosmos, because it's a great tool.
Yeah, it's filling in the gap, because Cosmos for me has been a technology that, you know, you look at like MongoDB and things, and it's there for scale, and they do put Cosmos out there as kind of, you need, you know, global scale for your data. The other option for that would be Azure Table Storage. And there's never been that in between. So to go from what is relatively cheap, almost free table storage to really expensive Cosmos in some cases is, you know, it's too much of a jump. So bringing the free tier in
it's led to people hacking in solutions using table storage that maybe it shouldn't be, and Cosmos supports a lot better at that kind of nested, that document level, and also the graph database. So being able to put relationships between your blocks in very sensible ways. There's so many ways you can do on that. So really happy to hear that.
It was interesting that they accidentally announced that 2 days before they met.
I do wonder if it's accidentally similar with the Outlook Spaces that we talked about last week, how much of these things are just to get a bit more publicity. But there we go. I think we'll wrap up that half of this week's episode, and after the very short break, we'll be coming back and talking about how do we learn.